My name is Grace Beal. I'm a rising senior at the University of Michigan. This summer, I am the photos intern for the NBA, the National Basketball Association. At Michigan, I have been the senior sports photo editor and the managing photo editor for the Michigan Daily, which is our student newspaper. It's the largest student newspaper in the country. So I've had a blast doing that over the last few years. I'm sure I'll talk more about it, but that's kind of my current background. Do some freelance work, and yeah.
That's nice. That sounds interesting. It sounds very busy, but it sounds fun too.
It's busy, but it's a lot of fun. I've met some great people through it.
That's good. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna start off with like my questions. So, I don't know if you got a chance to look through them, but my first
Yeah,
question for tonight is when and how did you begin your photography career and pathway?
yeah, for sure. So I started taking photos when I was in high school. I saved up my sophomore year of high school and bought a camera. It was Canon. I just shot kind of for fun. I went to a really small high school in Western Pennsylvania and really close knit community. So loved taking pictures of all kinds of different sports. I played sports growing up, loved watching sports. Kind of just did it for fun, never anything serious, just for my friends. And then I graduated high school in 2020 and then started college in 2020. So deep COVID, was really having trouble like finding something to do, was so bored, was literally spending all my time just sitting in my dorm. And so I ended up applying to the Michigan Daily for their photo staff. And that's kind of when I got more involved. So that was my freshman year. And then sophomore year, I was an editor and then became managing photo editor and did that over for a year before becoming senior sports photo editor. So it's been a crazy few years, but that's kind of how I got into photography more seriously.
That's nice. Um, what has supported that professional development? So I know you said like you bought your first camera like in high school. What supported that? Like was it your family or those around you or like what like mm, I don't know like what the term would be, but what made that spark happen with like you and photography?
Yeah, for sure. So I like the reason I bought the camera was I just thought it would be fun. Truthfully, like that was never there was no serious reason with that, but I ended up buying it and had a lot of fun. And I think for me, like I love people and I love making people happy. And I think I was there wasn't a ton of people that were taking photos at the different sports. So like I'd have these albums I'd send out to people and they'd be so excited. And like I look back and like these pictures were not good, but everyone was so happy about it. And I think that just brought me so much joy. And then I started doing senior pictures and different portrait stuff, and getting to be behind the lens and really connect with people through that was kind of for me in high school what really made me love it. And then when I got to Michigan, why I wanted to continue doing it.
Nice. Um yeah, so what guided you towards your opportunities? I have here being a sports photographer and working with a team, but what guided you toward that opportunity of working or being an NBA intern?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So I was doing the internship like application cycle last year, junior year, and I'm an organizational studies major at Michigan, really interested in policy and stuff. So I was like, oh, just applying to some DC jobs. And but I have just I love photography and I've loved sports media, and Michigan's a huge sports school, obviously. So I've spent so much time on the sidelines, and I saw the NBA communications internship come up. So I was like, oh, that would work too. Like it's not photo related, but I still love the industry. So I applied and ended up getting directed to the photography internship and had that interview. And just the people that interviewed me, Brian Choi and Joe Amati, who are the president and vice president of NBA's photos, they're just wonderful. And I was totally like, I was like, I need this job. Like, I love it so much. And I ended up when I got the call that I got the internship, I was still waiting to hear back for the policy internships. But I talked to my mom, and she's so supportive. My whole family is, and she was just like this is your dream gig, you have to do this. And so kind of from there I have now been in New York and slash the caucus where their other headquarters is in New Jersey. Kind of have been here for the whole summer. I've gotten to do a bunch of stuff for the draft that was last month, and then just last week I was in Vegas for the rookie photo shoot and the summer league and for WNBA All Star. And I've gotten to do a lot of I've taken a ton of photos of this stuff too, but also really gotten to see the business side of photography and this kind of stuff in the sports media industry. And it's been a really great opportunity and definitely not something I imagined I would be doing this summer, but it's been great.
That sounds so cool. Like that's a lot, but that's so cool. Like just like being involved like in so many things, but it's so cool to like
Thank
know
you. Yeah,
that
it's
you're
been
working
fun.
with that. Yeah, I bet it's very fun.
It's
Um,
cool.
So, what challenges, if any, have you encountered as a woman in this field? So I know like you're
Yeah.
just like really building up that career um within sports and like you've been doing it for some time now, but have you encountered any challenges?
Yeah, for sure. I think, as most young women in the industry can attest to, like, being on the sidelines at pretty much any sporting event, that it's mainly white men and older white men that have been around the industry for a while, and they kind of go together and aren't always super open to talking to younger photographers. And I think especially my first few big games I shot, like football and stuff, that I was really anxious when it didn't feel like the people around you were always looking to help you.
Mm,
I've been lucky to have the student journalism community at Michigan that, like, every photographer that I know from that, if I see them on the sidelines, they want to be helpful. But then there are these certain professionals that are less like that, and that's not the case for everybody. But I think it's definitely interesting when you're 20 years old and you're the only woman sitting on the sidelines. And I think that's definitely made me sit there and be like a little anxious and stuff. I think going into my senior year now, I've gotten over that a bit, but especially when I talk to younger photographers that we've hired, and I'm transparent with them that's the case, and I want them to feel like justified in um, having that kind of emotion when they're on the sidelines. And so yeah, I think that's for me probably something that definitely I've gone over with. And then the other one, I think the big one is as a freelancer and doing like other photography. Charging for my work. I think being a young woman in this industry, like you're expected to like want to just take every single opportunity you can. But like at the end of the day, I'm a student. I need to make money.
yeah.
And sometimes it's really hard to like put out my prices and like, this is how much I charge. And even like with people are like, oh, you're still undercharging, and it's hard. It's definitely something that you have to be very comfortable with. But I've been lucky to have some mentors that have helped me with that as time has gone on. But yeah,
That's nice. I feel like a lot of like young people, I wouldn't even just say women, I would just say like in general who are like trying to
yeah,
get into this field, like that's like a very big thing that they deal with. I know it's been like something I've dealt with like
for
just like
sure.
a few gigs, not even on like the sports, just like portraits.
Yeah, for sure.
I've been able to do, it's been hard to like know like how much should I charge this person and this person. Like I'm just getting
Yeah,
started, but it's also like my work, it's also my time. So I know
exactly.
like, it's hard. I know a lot of people struggle
Yes.
with it. Um, so you mentioned you had mentors.
Mhm.
Have you had them for a long time or like who are they? How do they help with your process or how are they helping with your
Yeah.
process?
So I would say my few at Michigan, some of my original mentors were the older photographers slash former editors at the Michigan Daily that I've worked with. They had obviously been around the sports before me and really showed me their work and taught me lots and just kind of guided me through my growth process at Michigan as a photographer. And then in addition to that, this summer, like I said, I've been really lucky to have the NBA photos team, Joe and Brian, and then the Michigan Daily has like a great alumni network. So I've been really lucky to talk to a lot of them. Allison Farron, she's the Detroit Tigers team photographer. If you could talk to her, she's wonderful. She's always so kind to give back to doing like talks to our staff, or like when I was doing my NBA interview, she did a portfolio review for me. Just her and Kate and another woman named Caitlin McClure, who another daily photographer alumni, and they were so helpful just helping me get ready for an interview. And I think people like that, women like that especially, obviously are have been really powerful for me over the last few years. But yeah, I think those are a few.
That's good. That's nice you have like a group of people, a big group of people, it's a few people, who are there like helping you and guiding you and like giving you these tips and like making sure everything works out smoothly for you. So congratulations to that.
Thank you.
Um, so tell me about a time when you probably doubted yourself and what motivated you to continue pushing forward.
Yeah. So like I said, have I didn't really go into college like with this like I'm gonna do photojournalism, I'm gonna be a sports photographer mindset, and kind of got into it because like I needed an outlet. And then I became managing photo editor. And so my counterpart, who is actually like my best friend in the whole world, she is like photojournalism is her whole thing. She's been doing photography since elementary school. Like she is just the most incredible person in the whole world. Such an amazing photographer. Can't speak highly enough of her. But we shot alongside each other a lot. And I think I struggled with feeling like I was not as good as her, and I was like, oh my gosh, like the product she's putting out is going to be so much better than mine, blah blah blah. And she like never made me feel that way, but I was putting a lot of pressure on myself to like live up to her or have images that look similar to hers. Um, but at the end of the day, like that's like you want different perspectives. But my specific example was this year we were shooting the Ohio State Michigan football game, so like the biggest football game for Michigan every year, and I just was like not loving the pictures I was taking. It was like really anxious and just stressed out. And I ended up at the end of the game going through and having a lot of photos I liked. And it was totally fine. But I think like at the end of the game, I was really like putting my pressure on myself because we went in at halftime and she felt like she had a bunch of photos, and I just did not feel like that. And I think at the end of the day, I was putting a pressure on myself that no one else was. And like we sent out our photos and had them on covers and stuff. And everyone's like, oh my gosh, those look great. So I was the only one that was thinking that. But I think in positions like that, like I'm so lucky to be surrounded by these amazing people, but there is the pressure that we all put on ourselves to like compare ourselves. And that's like never necessary, but
Yeah.
something I've caught myself doing a lot.
Yes, thank you for sharing that with me. Um, so what does a typical week look like for you? So I know you're like an intern right now with NBA photos, or not a week. I don't know if you want to maybe reduce it to like a day if that's easier, but if you want to just share with me what that looks like.
Yeah, for sure. So I could do it. Yeah, I'll do a day here. Um, I could do a day here or a day at school. Which would you prefer?
Both if you
Okay,
want.
yeah, I'll do both for sure. Yeah, that totally works. Okay, so I'm trying to think of, like a day recently. So I'll start like way back when I started my internship, not way back, 2 months ago when I started my internship. It was during the NBA finals. And so I'll do kind of like 2 days. So my first day, actually, we went in and during games, what the NBA does is like you have a bunch of photo editors that are assigned to the photographers that are on the floor at the game. And so I was there observing because I just started, but getting to see all the other photo editors edit each photographer. And so that was a really interesting experience. And then the next day, when I was actually able to help, we do something called second edits. So once all the photographers have all their photos in, I was going through a photographer's album and just picking out the best ones, editing them, and then uploading them to Getty because that's the NBA's partner. And then a fun activity else I did that day, I got to pick out some photos that we hung up in the NBA's office, just getting those hung, and then picking out some that we sent to like the coaches of the teams and stuff like that. So that was really fun. And then more like mundane work, but still really important. We have like lots of partners, obviously. So especially when there's like big games where there's like marketing of the brand, like my job one day, what that day was to pull out all the photos for can't remember what brand, but all the photos that had the marketing of that brand and then send it to them so they had it. So that was kind of a day in my internship, and then a day at school. I'm trying to think of like a good example. Um, the example I always tell that like was really representative, like my managing editor term was I went to photograph President Biden in Ohio for an event, which was like obviously not the norm, but got to do that. And then came home, went to class, and then went into the newsroom where I work and was editing photos for our print edition. But then like first I can go through a sporting. Sorry, I'm like talking a ton, but I can go through like a sporting event
No,
too,
you're
like how
good.
the coverage is for that.
Yeah, go
But
ahead.
so I'm just like talking. But then for like a football game, for example, this past year I photographed the Fiesta Bowl, which is like the playoff game Michigan played in, and so we were there for a week. The week leading up to it, we covered practices, media day, different press conferences, and a few other community events that happened in the week leading up to it. The day of the game, we get there about 2 hours early. We get there, set up in the media room, put my laptop there and everything, get everything set up, lenses, cameras, and then we go out the field, kind of get some warm up pictures, play with the settings, just see how the field's looking. From there, go back in, upload those, give a few pregame photos to our social media team, and then go out, shoot the first half, and then hustle back in at halftime to give some halftime pictures for graphics for scores to our social media team. Shoot the second half, and then after that, go back in. Um, and so that day they lost, unfortunately, but just shooting like kind of the atmosphere after that game. And then from there, we went back in, uploaded the rest of our photos, sent some to our socials team for the final score, and for just like some social media posts, and then place photos in all the different articles being published about the game. And then our final task with that was we sent photos to our design editor who made like the print edition cover from that game. That was kind of a day when we covered that.
Wow, that sounds very you're, like, going back and forth between, like, shooting, but also editing and making sure that, like, the posts are ready, like, that's that's a lot.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like I really got like, the first time I did it, I was like, "Oh my god, this is crazy," and, like, I was but then you kinda get into the swing of it,
Yeah,
and it's a lot of
that's what I
fun.
was gonna say, I was gonna ask if you get used to it, and I'm sure you do.
Yeah, for sure, and, like, football is definitely, like, gets in such a big place, like, you're running around so much, but then, like, basketball, which I love shooting, obviously, it's a lot less stressful, you're just kind of, like, from one place to another, less running.
Yeah, so what do you think has been your biggest accomplishment so far?
Oh, that's a good question. This internship was a pretty big accomplishment for me, I was really excited about that. I would say on, um trying to think, it's hard. I would say I'm really proud of the community I built while I was an editor at the paper. I think, being a woman in sports photography can definitely be difficult, and I feel like the community and the bonds that I've helped create with the staff that I'm on, have has really helped so many of the people I'm working with be way more comfortable in their positions. I know, like, the leaders that came before me, like, did that for me, and I've been so grateful to feel way more comfortable in my role because of that, and so I'm really proud of how that's looked and how I've been able to give back. And not only as like giving them that community, but the things I've been able to teach them, whether that's like portfolio reviews, and I do like all the our sports trainings, like teach them how to shoot basketball, teach them how to shoot gymnastics, all this, etc. And just the excitement that so many of them feel when they shoot a game really well, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, like I remember this when you taught me it." Like those kind of moments for me are like the accomplishments I'm proud of.
That's so nice. Like, it's nice to know, like, your accomplishment is something you wanted, which is this intern, but also being able to help people, around you who, like, need the help. Um, what do you hope to achieve in the future?
It's a very good question that I'm going into my senior year of college. I'm trying to figure that out. So I have definitely become really interested in digital strategy. So as you can tell, like the kind of the businessy, but also like technical side of photography and media. And so I think I'm really interested in exploring that further. I love being a photographer, and I'm hoping I can do that forever. But I think it's really cool now, especially like after doing this internship, to see how much goes into photography and media outside of just taking the photos. So I think kind of learning more about the digital strategy and maybe exploring that career path in the future. But truthfully, I'm still in college, still trying to figure it out. Hopefully something cool comes along, but we'll see. So
That's nice, though, that's nice. Like, obviously, like, we're not expected to know everything, like, right away, so it's okay.
for sure.
Um, what does success mean to you?
Yeah, I think I kinda touched on this, like, I feel really successful, like, when I got the internship, like, that was a big accomplishment and everything, and then, like, I've had a few pictures, like, on the cover of the paper, and, like, that feels really great, but definitely the most successful I felt is when I wrapped up my managing editor term with the paper, and, like, I was, like, really proud of all the photos I've taken and everything I covered, but hearing from the younger photographers and people I worked alongside of how positively I impacted them as people, and like the guidance I provided them, I think that is true success to me. Like I could have taken the best photos in the world, but if I would have left my workplace or the industry that I was working in negatively impacting them, I think that would have been obviously really disappointing and not something I wanted to do. But being able to hear that and leaving the my term and whatever with people feeling that way towards me was my idea of success and like how I hope to be in like my future career. And I've taken so many photos that I'm really proud of, but at the end of the day, the photographer's only as good as they are to the people around them.
Right, I love that little statement at the end.
Thanks.
Okay, so that was basically it for my questions. I guess like the last point I wanted you to maybe speak on is if you have any advice for aspiring women in sports photography.
Yeah,
So
for sure. I think, like way at the beginning, I kind of touched on this too. Like I felt a lot of anxiety, like going to shoot games, and I think being willing to kind of take that anxiety and just trust yourself in your ability and um, go shoot these games and have fun. That's like what has helped me so much. But even more so, asking for help. I would have never gotten better if I didn't ask like other photographers how they did this or like what settings are they using or for advice about editing. And I think that's what's been really special about me about being a student journalist is I've been surrounded by so many cool people. But I also know that like there's people that don't have it, and I've gotten like messages on Instagram or emails being like, "Hey, like I know you do this. Like, how can I learn more about this?" And I think there's so many student journalists, so many professional women in sports photography that are more than willing to help, like answer questions and stuff. And I'm not saying they're gonna be like, "Oh, like here's a potential, come shoot a game with me," but I think answering questions and portfolio reviews have been so helpful to me. So I think being willing to reach out to people and ask questions is so important in photography. And obviously, you get better by practice, but learning things outside of just shooting is so important and valuable too. Of
Right. Well, thank you. Thank you for
course.
your advice. I also take it for
Thank you
my
for having me. Yeah.
um, it was really nice meeting you, and thank you
You
for
too.
letting me interview you and giving me the space to interview you. And I hope that you continue doing what you want and whatever you want to end up doing in the future. Like I'm sure you'll do great.
Thank you.